Hi everybody and welcome to Now to Tech. I'm Neil and this is the 10th scale drift car. Now this is the Nissan GTR based drift car, 10 scale 4-wheel drive. This particular one is brushless, electric powered. So let's check it out and see what it's all about. Now our box is nice and brightly coloured with the pictures of the cars you've already seen. It weighs about 2 kilos I would say, and is approximately 60 centimetres by 30 by 20 centimetres deep. So not huge but not tiny either. So let's take the lid off and see what we've got inside. So we've got our car nicely bolstered in with these big foam pads. We've got radio gear in a box at this end. Looks like we've got a rear wing, it's separately in the bag, and I think our car's actually held in with some cable ties. So I'll just take the body shell off and get those snipped out of the way. With the body off, I've just snipped through a couple of cable ties. There's one at the front and one at the rear, and then our car is free to get out. Underneath that, what else have we got? It looks like the instruction manual. Again, always worth a read before you get up and running properly. So put that aside. And then I can see underneath the packaging we've got some stickers and what have you. So I'll just unpack the rest of it and we'll lay it out on the table. So with everything on the table, what have we got? Well, of course we've got our car. I think it looks great, particularly in this colour scheme. We've got the sticker sheet to finish it off, which is what I touched on when it was in the box. These are quite nice thick stickers and they're pre-cut, so you don't have to trim around each one. So we've got all the windows and stuff on there, and I'll be coming on to that in a few minutes. Of course, we've got the instruction manual. Now, having looked through this, there's all sorts of diagrams of part numbers and that kind of stuff, so if you do need to replace any part of the car later on, you've got that to hand. And also there's the instructions for the 2.4 gigahertz radio in there too. And the radio itself is actually quite a nice tactile piece of equipment. It does have a solid quality feel about it, particularly once you've got some batteries in the bottom. I particularly like the fact that you've got this nice sponge around the steer wheel section. Quite a nice array of controls and a very short aerial. Because it's 2.4 gigahertz, you don't have these extendable aerials which do get broken. And likewise, the aerial for the car is very short, so there's no need to have a long aerial, which spoils the look, particularly with this class of model. Also we've got, let's have a look, we've got the rear wing and the rear wing mounting hardware. With the self-adhesive tabs to stick that on at the end, and we've got this LiPo charger. Now I quite like this one because it's got some LEDs, so you can tell when it's plugged in, when it's charging, and when the batteries are fully charged. So that's quite a nice thing to have included with this model. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this body stickered up, but before I do, I'm going to enlist the help of my work stand today. Now this isn't included with the kit, but it's a nice thing to have and to add on. It basically is a rotating stand for the car, so you can just stick the car on the top and move it around. So as you're working on it, having to take wheels off or anything like that, it's really quite handy to be able to just have it sat there. And it looks great. Even it comes with a ball bearing fitment for the rotating top, which is white, so free rotating there. I also like the fact that this section here is magnetic, so when I take these body clips off, we don't lose them. And as you get into radio control, you'll find that that is a very handy feature also. Now, as I take the body clips off, something worth noting with the car itself is that this great body shell comes with a protective film layer on it. Now I'm just going to start to peel that off so you can see this corner. So there's this protective film that just peels right off like that. So you want to get that film off to reveal this really shiny, glossy body shell. They're really fantastic. And before you start putting the stickers on, obviously, it would be terrible to put all the stickers on and then have to peel them all off again with this protective layer. So I'm going to go right ahead and get the stickers on, and I'll see you in a couple of minutes. So our car's all stickered up or finished, ready to go, and doesn't it look great? But there's more to this than just looking great. So let's take the body shell off and take a closer look at what's underneath, because after all, that's the thing that's going to give you the performance. So starting at the front, we've got this nice foam bumper, which is going to take any knocks rather than your body shell folding under. So really quite a nice feature there. Obviously we've got the body mounting hardware. Then we've got, moving slightly further back, we've got threaded oil-filled shocks. We've got upper wishbones in the front suspension with removable clips, so you can adjust the front caster. And then as we move further along, we've got you can see the servo saver here for the laid down steering servo, and right on top of that we've got the receiver, the 2.4 GHz receiver, so it's very small. Moving further back, we've got the electronic speed controller, nicely kitted out with the cooling fan on top. And then moving back, we've got the on-off switch, plus this rather nice blue anodized 3300 kilovolts brushless motor, which is going to provide you with huge amounts of power. As you go further back in the car, again towards the rear axle, we've got adjustable turnbuckles for the rear end, so you've got control over camber. And nice to see a nice feature in here, which is possibly not that easy for you to see at the moment, is the droop screws in the rear wishbones and also the rear upstops, so you can actually limit the amount of upward travel in the rear suspension. And then of course that's all finished off at the rear with similarly oil-filled ride height adjustable suspension coilovers there at the back. So looking at the other side, we're still at the front again. You can just make out we've got a grub screw in there, which is going to be for limiting the up travel of the front suspension. You've got the front shocks with the threaded collars, obviously oil-filled dampers. And then as we move a little bit further back, we've got the, I think these wheels look really good. Drift wheels, obviously the hard plastic so that you don't have the grip, and that's the whole, obviously, the idea behind the car. But I really like the way that the detail to look like obviously the real thing, particularly with this chrome lip. I think that's really quite effective. Then moving a little bit further back, you might just be able to make out the metal turnbuckle for the front steering arm there. And then as we move further back, obviously this car is a shaft driven car, so we've got the blue anodized drive shaft that you can see quite clearly there. And then essentially this side of the car is the battery compartment. Now you've got quite a lot of space available on the chassis. It gives you a number of battery options here. Now the car in this guise comes with 11.1 volt LiPo battery. As you can see, it's held in with these straps, but the strap mechanism is adjustable, so if you can put a variety of different size batteries in there, and they're all kept snug with this bracing system that's on the side. And then as we go further back, obviously we can see again the droop screws in the rear suspension and the up travel stops, which I'll try and get you in on, as you can see. And then we've got again plenty of adjustment on the rear end, as we talked about with the camber adjustments, and also you've got a couple of options for roll center here. So actually a very well featured car, particularly when you consider that the concept behind this is for drifting. Now a lot of these features also would apply to any race car, and so really if you replace the drift wheels with rubber tyres or foam tyres, you could have quite a serious racer as well. So you've got plenty of options with this particular chassis. Now, other than the wheels, what else makes this a drift car? Well, because it's set up as a drift car, we've got a solid rear axle, okay, so that will help to lose you some traction, which I know sounds a bit bizarre, but really that's what it's about. You've got to be losing the traction to make the car swing around. So we've got a solid in the rear, and in the front we've got a geared differential. Now because both the gearboxes are the same, If you wanted to convert the car to a racer, then you could swap them over. So actually a lot of touring cars will run a solid front axle with a differential in the rear. So you've got quite a number of options here. But in this, guys, it works really well. And I have to say, having driven one of these, the amount of power that the battery, the brushless system and the electronic speed controller can deliver is insane. I have to say, particularly in the drift, guys, you don't need a lot of power to get the enjoyment, and there is masses of power here. In fact, I put some rubber tyres on to try out, just to see how it would respond, and it just lights up all 4 tyres just touching the throttle. So in this, guys, beware, you've got massive amounts of power on tap. So what else can you do with this car in terms of an adjustment? Well, let's take a look. So what we're looking at here is the front suspension with the wheel taken off. Now I just wanted to show you've got pillow ball suspension, which basically means that there are 2 balls in the plastic, one in the bottom, one in the top, so you've got the articulation for the steering. But the benefit of this particular system is that you have an adjustment. Now if you look inside, not the big hex here, but right inside, you might just be able to make out there's another hex drive in there, and by adjusting that, basically you can adjust the amount of camber that the front of the car has. So that really greatly influences the way that the car handles. Perhaps not so much with in drift mode, but certainly when you get tyres that will grip. Now the back of the car has a similar arrangement, but this time the pillow balls are horizontal, and that means that you can adjust the amount of toe in that the rear suspension has, that the rear wheels have. So basically the amount of toe in. Now typically if you're going to go racing, that you'd have some toe in on the back, perhaps 1 or 2 or 3 degrees, but for drifting you'd probably want them to be parallel or 0, but you do have that adjustability built in. So again, this car has a lot of flexibility. You can go switch between drifting and racing with the same chassis. So there we have it. It's the GTR drift car. It's very versatile, this model. Not only does it look great, it's got loads of power, in fact massive amount of power for a drift car. You don't need even probably a third that this has got, which makes it really flexible, because you if you do get into the racing side of things, it's very easy to convert, and you've got loads of power for racing. So a great looking body shell in this, guys. A superb 2.4 gigahertz steer wheel radio included, and also finished off with a nice LiPo balanced charger. So there we have it. It's a complete package. Get yours at the best price at nowtotech.co.uk. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.